So, SARS-CoV-2 is a messenger. Unseen by us, it began somewhere in the wild as a mysterious particle, neither living nor non-living, riding bat wings. But now it has become a power with a capital P. How might such be so is the subject of this writing. Under viral tutelage, we are made witnesses today to an angel, in biblical terms, falling right in front of our eyes. And its falling is essentially a matter of prodigality, of ballooning to unimaginable dimensions. But to see such, we need guidance. And here I turn to Walter Wink's work on powers and principalities as fallen angels, infesting all of our bureaucracies and institutions, some of which he will delineate as elemental spirits associated with natural forces exercising influence and pressure on human action and experience. The thought experiment I'm offering here tracks the recent advent of the virus as just such a natural element. Part of the winged world of bats for who knows how long a stretch of time, suddenly finding opportunistic opening to work its magic and searching for a new arrangement among a whole new constituency. But stating my purpose such is already problematic for many of us. Most modern, especially westernized humans are hardly predisposed to perceive the little COVID strand under this magus emblem. We are much more likely to pillory the DNA pirate under war images. Yet such may well have been its role in evolution, and indeed even up through this contemporary moment as part of the continual search of the mysterious thrust of life for adaptive resilience across the microbiome of the planet. There's some thought that the virodome, long before Genesis time, may have kickstarted biodiversity on Earth by trading RNA for nutrient proteins from the double helix of life, wherever it could find trading partners. The result has been continuous transfer of genetic material between hosts, complements of these tiny invaders. But this viral quest for exchange may then beg recognition as an ancestral impetus for what we have yet to achieve socially in this country. Here we may be stumbling upon the original multicultural genius orchestrating biochemical difference into fiercely interdependent mutuality. The conductor was a virus. And in consequence, each of us as a human realization of this primal flux and flex now hosts some 380 trillion viral riders on our journey. We are hardly individuals, but rather living, walking ecosystems, symbiotically breakdancing with all the other ecosystems of our given geographical surrounds by way of microbial communication and interaction. And the coronavirus is then, at one level, simply one tiny appearance of a shared ancestral inheritance on constant mission to provoke and adapt to novelty. But as conduits of diversity and provocateurs of novelty, viruses do not only infect, they can also reveal. Most immediately, what they reveal today is systemic vulnerability. It would seem part of the tricksterism of wild nature that such a dwarf being could upend a global economy. What seemed unassailable has now trembled. But said more precisely, what the corona novelty's recent parousia has most cogently revealed is monstrosity. It has hardly skipped across the world stage with equal impunity. Rather, having leapt the strait of sequestration between winged cave populations and human concentrations in urban quarters, the virus is found retooling as a power, or perhaps more accurately, given its appellation as a coronavirus, a principality, since ironically, these were typically depicted in Christian angel art as crown-bearing. It gains aim and focus as a weaponized consequence of our social stratification and political violence. And here, Paul's inventory of titanic hierarchy offers food for thought. His litany of principalities and powers, thrones and dominions, heavenly authorities and world rulers, brought itinerary and organization and scale to the task of deciphering and confronting the spiritual interiority of Roman might. Though an antique language, this ancient conceit can also open questions for our own struggle to grasp COVID as not merely disease enemy to be defeated by medical intervention, but simultaneously spirit omen from the other side, demanding hearing. To wit, the realm of the powers in the biblical corpus is hardly a central articulation, but rather shows up as a mere hint that glowers from behind the veil of apocalypse at odd moments when the mask is knocked off center. If we pay close attention to what we read, we find a peculiar caveat when it comes to spiritual combat against organized political power engaged by Jesus or his followers. Demons may be sent packing in their daily interaction with various individuals, but the large-scale powers are typically not exorcised in the send-up of the text. They are only constrained. Mark will have Jesus advert only to binding the strong man when he looks down the road to his temple action, clearing out the money changers, not actually exorcising that particular power. In view is a kind of restraint or retying, a constriction setting a limit. That this is also the basic meaning of religion, as literally a religaturing or binding up again, will be deeply suggestive for what I'm teasing out here. Indeed, if we have so far departed from what in indigenous practice is merely the sum and substance of gift economy living, continually recognizing ritually and feeding in kind the entirety of the created order that itself continually feeds and provides for us, then there may well be need consciously to name and keep foursquare in view the practice of retying the powers. Religion in its most primal meaning. Indigenous communities had and have no need to engage in specifically religious activity because they never untied the powers in the first place. And here lies a whole world of difference. But we should go slow by listening to Luke for a stretch. Here I advert to Jesus when he's challenged about the power by which he casts out demons. He instantly begins mulling over the spiritual character of large-scale political institutions, such as kingdoms like Herod's, or houses like that of David, now incarnate in the Jerusalem temple state complex, controlling land debt and tax tithes. Then delineates an imagined struggle between a strong man and one stronger. The former's goods will remain intact unless he's subjected to constraint or bound. But if the latter overcomes the former by taking away his armor, then indeed his palace treasure may be disaggregated, the spoil divided, the defenses dismantled, not destroyed, in order to redistribute his stash. Which is to say, spiritual combat at the level of principalities and powers is primarily a struggle over scale. At issue is the size and architecture and aim of a given stockpile of goods. The imagined remedy is primarily a matter of decomposition and redeployment, not obliteration. We can elaborate. Kingdoms, houses, nation states, temple complexes, etc., are effectively assemblages of materials coercively ripped from natural habitat that never entirely lose their spiritual potency or sacred aura, even when removed from the symbiotic systems of wild reciprocity in which they originally came to be, and reconfigured to serve in and as unnatural systems of human domination. They carry continually a charge of spirit. But that spiritual undercurrent accompanying their material aspect now thrashes in hungry captivity. Whether cut tree, mined metal, piped water, stripped leaf, skinned animal hide, or carved rock, all the accoutrements of imperial utility amassed and reshaped as palaces and chariots, ships and weaponry, or today in my country as White Houses and Pentagons, computer and missile guidance systems, planes and bombs, or as the armature of transnational corporations, or the anatomy of mega cities, etc. All of these are, from a more indigenous perspective, living creatures now enslaved. And they remain spiritually forceful, but no longer embedded in an eco-mutuality scaled to the kind of flourishing characteristic of biodiversity. Like human beings dispensed by violence and not properly grieved, the natural materials, sorry, I lost my place here. The natural materials of urban architecture and imperial infrastructure alike are effectively homeless elements out of niche bodies, raging in spirit as hungry ghosts. And the need then is to return the powers to a more local scale of operating, not use them up and discard them in fictional states called garbage, but recover their eco-being in a relation of community and sustainability where everything, including ourselves, can be recycled in imaginable perpetuity in gift economy circulation. So perhaps a virus can teach. Mediator in the deep past, on quite successful mission of provoking biodiversity, messenger of the outback of late, warning of trespass on the part of a species careening towards self-destruction in overlord hubris, made functionally an oppressive power in its immediate captivity to our policy routines of race and class inequity. This not quite living one might yet be embraced as spirit if we were to entertain its advent as omen. What it signals may be this: religion in its most primal meaning of going back downscale and little, relearning again how to live like indigenous ancestors and exemplars within bounds and binds, seeing an entire planet of unfathomable complexity and inimitable beauty as the real heaven of destiny and the real ravager and consort of our desires, demanding respect and reciprocal embrace. It really is enough. There is no absolute unbinding promised anyone or anything, but only liberation into a sustainable give and take where everything limits and binds everything else in mutuality. And within that compass, the Corona Queen of our hour might even provoke us into becoming a novel co-dweller on Earth in a biodiverse exchange with all else never quite anticipated before now. SARS-CoV-2 is indeed an elementary angel. Whether her message is finally good news or apocalypse is up to us.